Hi everyone, and thank you for listening to my research proposal on understanding self-monitoring of blood glucose in type 2 diabetes. Diabetes affects 9.3% of the United States population, over 29 million people. Most of these are adults with type 2 diabetes. Uncontrolled diabetes can lead to complications such as kidney and eye disease, amputations, or even death. Self-monitoring of blood glucose, or we're going to call it SMBG, is a common feature of self-management practice in type 2 diabetes, even though the evidence of its efficacy is mixed in studies on type 2 diabetes. So the purpose of this study is going to be looking for the association between different types of intervention strategies for integrating self-monitoring of blood glucose into type 2 diabetes self-management and the actual effect of these strategies on blood glucose control for the participants and their effect on the participants' quality of life. Many studies have previously investigated SMBG interventions through clinical trials, systematic reviews, and meta-analysis. However, this particular review can improve U.S. public health practice by focusing exclusively on studies done in this country. And by doing this, I believe that we can add to the evidence base for successful strategies and also maybe help save money that's being spent on. So my first research question is, what is the association between SMBG intervention strategy and improvement in measures of glycemic control among U.S. adults with type 2 diabetes? The null hypothesis is that there is no association between SMBG intervention strategy and improvement in glycemic control among U.S. adults with type 2 diabetes. The alternative hypothesis is that there is an association between SMBG intervention strategy and improvement in glycemic control among U.S. adults with type 2 diabetes. My second research question is going to be, what is the association between SMBG intervention strategies and quality of life measures among U.S. adults with type 2 diabetes? So the null hypothesis would be that there is no association between SMBG intervention strategies and quality of life measures, such as psychosocial measures, maybe self-efficacy, depression, etc., among U.S. adults with type 2 diabetes. The alternative hypothesis is that there is an association between SMBG intervention strategy and quality of life measures among U.S. adults. So the study design is going to be systematic review. And the search strategy, the Cochrane Handbook suggests using these three databases, Medline, Central, and Embase. So that's where I'm going to start, those three. And then I'm also going to search some other databases such as CNOL and other ones that are available in the Concordia Library. If time permits, I'm also going to do some hand searching of diabetes journals. And once I have the relevant studies and data in hand, I'm going to compare them and describe them using narrative synthesis. I'm also going to include some data extraction tables for a visual. So I've included my inclusion and exclusion criteria for these studies. And inclusion criteria, I'm going to look at studies done in English, so I'm going to exclude ones that are not done in English. I want to get the most recent and relevant information, so I'm going to look for those published since 2005. So I'm going to exclude those published before 2005. I'm going to focus on studies that were done in the U.S., so I'm going to exclude those done outside the U.S. I want to look at adults, so 18 and over, so I'm going to exclude studies that are done on children or adolescents. I want to look at type 2 diabetes specifically, so I'm going to exclude studies that only look at type 1 or gestational diabetes. I also want to look at randomized control trials or quasi-experimental design because I'm looking at interventions, so I'm going to exclude those ones that are observational design. I would like to look at studies that have outcome measures of glycemic control, so this would be fasting blood glucose levels or hemoglobin A1C levels, or quality of life measures such as self-efficacy, depression, etc. And if the studies have different outcome measures, I'm not going to include those. So here are my references, and thanks so much for taking a look at my project. Goodbye.